Hello, welcome. One of the best weeks of listening we've had in a while here on Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic.
That's a very broad and ambiguous term, and I don't know if it's correct, to be honest.
Ritz
Far
and
from the
Chicks are
worst,
here.
so can at least confirm that one.
Yeah, the worst this year so far is probably like the Alice Glass or like the Foxtails week. I don't know.
And those
Probably,
weren't
probably
even
the
really
Alice,
weak.
probably the Alice Glass one, because I was both
Yeah.
Alice Glass and Alex Cameron,
Yeah.
I believe, and that was. I mean, I was hoping Alex Cameron would be better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're in an isosceles triangle this week. You, Ritz and
Yeah.
Tricks are much more similarly aligned, and I'm way far on the other end. We are
That's
the
that's
dissonant.
the first triangle reference we've done of the year.
We are dissonant in this dissonant wave.
Indeed.
But yet, we are still somehow the definitive podcast of Fifth Wave Emo.
Yeah, it's weird that we somehow just by default became one of the definitive fifth wave emo podcasts.
I'm half joking,
Yeah.
mostly joking, actually. Who knows?
Yeah.
And for a genre that's mostly bands in your area, Dominic, I'm the one who usually picks them.
Mhm.
Yes. I mean,
Should we mention
we would
what
fit
we
in.
got this week, Dominic?
Yeah, I'm just saying we would fit in perfectly as a group with those bands.
Yeah. We would.
Anyway, we got quite a few things this week. Technically 6 different projects. 5 or 6, depending on how you think about it. We got Big Scary's Vacation, their full debut EP, or LP, I'm sorry.
LP,
Tacocat's This Mess is a Place. Finally coming back around to episode 8 when we lost it. And covered
The
Big
Lost
Scary.
Time episode.
Yes. Lost time. 85 episodes later.
Yeah.
And lastly, then, we have also gone into the full discography of Your Arms Are My Cocoon. Another local Chicago emo act.
Mm-hmm.
Has been associated with Home Is Where and all of that. All that scene, all that jazz.
We saw Your Arms Are My Cocoon at the Home Is Where concert.
Yeah, he just kind of popped up on stage, played the violin for a bit, and was around.
Yep.
Refuses to elaborate, leaves.
Basically.
And so, where do we want to start on this triangle?
Oh, why not start with the one that's probably going to have a lot to talk about? I know we usually save the ones where we have the most to talk about till the end, but why don't we just start with it and go with Your Arms Are My Cocoon?
Okay.
Okay.
So, Your Arms Are My Cocoon, Tyler Odom was living in Texas and recorded a lot of this, and moved to Chicago to go to college and recorded a lot of this, or like edited it and mixed it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the debut EP, Your Arms Are My Cocoon. It seemed to do well. There was a deluxe edition released the next year with a lot of like live virtual fests and a couple other songs added. And he's contributed to some split EPs here and there since. One of them,
Yes.
The Battle at Kojima Island, is a EP with some like American bands. A couple of them, I believe, are from Indiana. I actually have it somewhere. Yeah. Pictures from June is from Bloomington, Indiana.
Oh, wow. That's right down the road.
Yes, and Lights Strung Like Stars are from West Lafayette.
Gotcha.
So you can kind of see maybe there was like a local network or something that they kind of strung up
Yeah.
box with. But then the other one, Our Little Trains, is a much wilder collaboration with an act from Colombia, Basura Stelada, I guess that's how it is.
All right.
And that same street, which is from Japan. The other act they did Kikijima Island with is Floral Patterns, who's from Oregon. You know, very different piece, but I also would argue those are the weaker stuff.
Yes.
Not much going on with these EPs.
I mean, there's not much going on in the main tracks of this. Like, that's not to say that what is going on isn't interesting, but there is not much going on. I mean, this was a bit of a slog to go through the deluxe edition because listening to the same song 3 times, and realistically, it wasn't much difference to actually care about. I mean, I don't know what Battlefest or Mechafest are. Maybe there's some live things that sounded a little bit more
I know
potentially live.
Mechafest is like a virtual thing. I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I read a little bit about it.
I'll start off with what I like about this EP or album, how we put it out, and I'm mostly just going with the 6 main tracks on here because the deluxe songs pretty much had the same issue. We'll obviously talk about your favorite later.
Mhm.
This album does grab me by its names and its artwork. I think it's trying to really put out some kind of edginess, whether that's edgy for being the sake of edgy or actual feelings on there.
Yeah.
And there are really fucking eye-grabbing titles on here. Like in October of 2019, I called a suicide hotline for the first time. That
Yeah.
pops out at you. You don't
Yes.
just ignore that. But putting into it, the only thing I came out at the end liking were the concepts of the songs rather than the songs themselves. Like there was some interesting instrumentation that's just muffled completely, and it's kind of when you actually do get to pay attention to the instruments happening on it, it's some of the favorite moments. Like the kind of just the cruising guitar in Illinois, Alberta is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
This screaming, I know how this is recorded. This is probably one of the most DIY records we've done that isn't my shit on here.
I thought it was an interesting
And
contrast to do this after your stuff.
It definitely is, and this seems to somehow been recorded on lesser quality, yet it's obviously executed a lot better than I can fucking do.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that what's done, because from what I remember, this is all done in GarageBand on an iPhone.
Probably.
I think that was the whole fucking gimmick. I think that's what Brandon McDonald has said in the interview with Fantano talking about this album. Obviously, she's not the maker of this album, but she would know. And whilst it explains why a lot of this album sounds as poorly produced and muffled as it is, it doesn't mean it justifies it. You can't just go, oh well, it's had no production value. This person can't do it, so it's now suddenly better of an album. It's like, well, no, it just explains it, and it doesn't make me want to slap the person and say get better production because I know the context of that, but it doesn't mean I go back to this album when it comes to all these like screamo stuff. Because when the music is so clean, like when the instrumentations are so clean, like they are in here, and then for the screaming to be just very, very small and kind of out of the way, it doesn't feel like it's just a like a little bit of extra instrumentation with the vocals. It just sounds like some white noise that's ruining what's pretty good instrumentation on here.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what bothers me most about this. I've looked at the lyrics because I can't actually understand them. And to Dominic, I think you said, you appreciate the lyrics. I don't really think they're anything special or something that hasn't been done before, because I looked at them and then they just kind of just didn't stay in my head.
I mean, no,
It's the
I'm not
best.
saying they're like that. It's more that, Foster Nosferatu just sounds like shut the fuck up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look at the lyrics and I'm like, oh, there's something here. It's not even, there's no one that's shut the fuck up. It's just what it sounds like.
Yeah. I
And
get that.
the actual kind of like vibes that I got from here weren't so much as fifth wave emo, but actually going back a couple steps and going back to Alexis on Fire's debut, which has a lot of that kind of cleaner instrumentation, but yet those dirtier vocals. And if I go back and listen to, say, 44 Caliber Love Letter or Young Cardinals, because it's so much clearer, even though I can't even understand the vocals all the time of the dirtier ones, because it's so clearer, there's that much more louder contrast instead of it all being muffled together that makes it hit. And I'm sure if he got those production values on this record, like if he does a car seat headrest and then just completely re-records this record with the cleanest with the cleaner production on a higher budget, I'm sure I'll actually come up and like this a lot more. But for now, it's just a bunch of concepts, which, yeah, it also has some great trinkly guitar shit, which I'm a sucker for. And that's, ever since American football's debut, every time I hear it, and it's not a fucking acoustic guitar in there trying to make me square dance. If you get me that other trinkly fucking guitar, which makes me just want to cry in my corner and drink the water that I've like already spilled across the floor, I will be a sucker for that shit.
You know what's on this record is banjo, right? At least there's some banjo on here. Maybe not all of it.
There sounds like a bit of accordion, but I'm going to assume that's just GarageBand.
I think there's a mellotron in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Might be that. Because I know he's quite the multi-instrumentalist. And I guess overall I disagree with your assessment, though I can understand how you would feel that way. I'm not looking for production quality. I rarely am. Especially when it's DIY music like this. I kind of assume that it's going to be not great production quality. I think the Liquids were a really good example of that.
Yeah.
And even the Liquids, those tracks had varying different qualities within that of like some of them sounded worse than others.
Oh, absolutely.
I get that. But like I said before, I don't really feel like it justifies because the sound that this is going for really suffers from the poor mixing and the poor production on this.
But I guess to me, if you think about it, yes, this is clearly someone who, at least according to the tracks on the deluxe edition, was making music before this. But I have not seen any evidence of like previous release stuff. Maybe it exists. I don't know. But this could very well be someone who was just doing it as like a hobby, as like an outlet. And then it's like, oh, people actually responded to it, got out there. But it's like, how much shit is on Bandcamp getting released every day, every week? You know, I go through the new releases here and there, and I look for stuff that I find interesting, and rarely do I find a lot that I want to download or buy or anything.
I mean, there's a news article on Bandcamp right now, a guide to Chicago's young indie scene.
Sure. And I'm curious to see if we can run Club, Beach Bunny, all of them are on there. Or, you know.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I responded to this album based on emotion and how much is created to me within the scope of how limited this is. Because I think, you know, it grabs people, and people are clearly reacting to it. Brandon McDonald clearly seems to like this. You know, she brought him on stage.
Yeah.
And it's gone, like, if you look on, like, Twitter, Mousatui is following, Origami Angel is following him.
I mean, Mousatui seems to be following every goddamn DIY act. Sure. Because they're on the Oz Music, they've linked up their Last FM to the bot that we have, so you can see everybody. Right. And every time I put in a fucking DIY thing, it's just Mouse there, and it's just like 10 or 12 fucking listens, and it's just like, that makes sense. But tell you what, I'll go look right now and see how many he fucking has on Your Arms on my cocoon.
But like,
I guarantee it'll be probably above 10.
But I guess the comparison I have to make right now is like Stomach Book. Stomach Book. I think Stomach Book is a better record, but he's got 24, by the way. Yeah, Stomach Book was one of my favorite albums of last year, despite the production problems, despite that one song having that ear-piercing, shrieking sound. I hated that thing. Makes me dislike that track. I think it's like the third track on there. But I love that album for how wild and creative and inventive it is, despite clearly being limited in some aspects of its production.
Yeah, but the production on the Stomach Book record is fucking far superior than it is on this.
Sure. But I guess I don't see it as much of an issue as I see this as like young artists trying to make stuff, and sometimes it just happens to explode. But it's like, I could make something and put it out next week. I have made something before that wasn't really music, but I've released it and no one has paid attention to it, and that's totally fine. Nobody should. But like,
hey, I made a remix EP.
Yeah, it was better than my original one. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think this is almost an accident. Maybe he was really savvy and was like, hey, this image is really striking, this art is really cool, and that's gonna like help push it. But I kind of don't think, I would assume at least he's probably not that conniving of like a salesman. But he could be, I don't know. It just seems like a happy, interesting little thing that people reacted to it and responded to it to this degree. And I'm one of those people. I can't explain other than it just creates a lot of emotion and a lot of interesting visuals for me in my head. Like songs like Clifford the Big Red Stab Wound alone. That's such an evocative fucking title.
Yeah.
It is something I actually am like repulsed by. surprisingly as a title because it makes me think of the fucking cartoon. When I think of the cartoon,
It's a good title, but
It is.
it's not that it's not that great.
It repulses me in terms of like the imagery it brings up, but it's like also I think of the fucking intro to the cartoon, and the song surprisingly captures a little bit of that vibe as well, and I don't understand it. And so I also am intrigued by the way he screams. I think it is interesting because the lyrics don't really match it. It's not like really sad emo like screaming lyrics necessarily like we might have heard in other bands. Like it's actually really positive and like affirming stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's a conscious decision to try to marry bedroom pop with emo the way he's doing it. And I don't know if that's just like an experiment he wanted to try, or if there was like, hey, I bet this would work and make me some money. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the fifth wave emo, I mean, it's got a lot of aspects that have made it a little bit more different than previous waves. It's not to say that the last wave wasn't pretty DIY as well, but it is definitely a more bedroom style genre. Not to say that it's not a bit innovative to start doing all this DIY stuff, especially for Your Arms and My Cocoon. But I don't think it's just him trying to marry this idea. I think this is the kind of wave we're on. Obviously, there's a lot more to the wave. It's just that's just how it works. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the scheme of things, it's 2020 when this EP comes out, so it's kind of like not the first to arrive on the scene, but
Yeah.
then kind of a little bit into early middle of it. And
yeah, I mean, the last Beach record was still kind of DIY.
yeah, and that's kind of considered.
Last piece was a lot higher fidelity, though.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say not on the level of this. I was
on all those cases, even Stomach Book is made by somebody who is older.
Yeah.
Like it seems like Tyler was like 18, maybe, like 1 year more or less. And if you look at like the further tracks in the deluxe edition where they do repeat some of the songs, he's not exactly like nailing it again, you know. Like some of them sound even worse production wise, way more shittier in that way. And some of them, are just different enough where that's the same song, I guess. But then if you look at like the Megafest stuff is entirely different instrumentation. Like it's similar, but it's very much more like video game N64 80s style instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to see the ways in which he has gone from the past year and a half. And like I just gotta also just say, like, the reason I did this specifically, the EP and the deluxe edition, because I think the EP is such a clean, solid burst of energy at 13 minutes and so many seconds. It's so powerful to me and so good that like the deluxe edition is also an example of like how stringing that along and making more tracks can like dilute it a little bit and like make it lesser, despite the fact that it's just celebrating what's already released. The only other track that I really like on the deluxe edition is the very last one, I'm Ruined, which is fucking phenomenal. Holy shit. It's completely different. It's more chiptune video gamey with like I think a Madonna sample. I don't exactly know. And it's just so catchy and so fun and so unlike anything else here that I'm intrigued at it as like a evolution of his style where he could go. Hard to really know though, but that's what draws me to it. Hey, this is the base. This is really good for like my interests. I think I am drawn to the screaming and the way the screaming is done. I think the screaming in Illinois and Alberta specifically is so fucking raw and just gut-wrenching, especially during like the section that's like split between songs as it transitions, and just him screaming is so memorable to me, so just there in my mind. So it's a lot of it is to me is just raw artistic ambition and what he's putting out there and changing it up. I do not think the other EPs are representative of that because it's partially not him. But it's also interesting to compare his screaming versus other screaming and why I like his more than others.
The
screaming.
Like, the vocals never really grabbed me on this, and maybe it's because it's muffled. Maybe I am caught up a bit too much in production, but I didn't think it was that executed compared to all the other screaming. Again, maybe I'm just comparing it to similar sounds. I might be caught up in Alexis on Fire and here, which I think that one's a great example, but I also think Alexis on Fire were one of the better hardcore bands back in the day.
But I'm also thinking of like when we did Foxtails.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer this so much more to Foxtails.
I prefer Foxtails.
Yeah, I prefer Foxtails.
I'm so more intrigued by what's going on here and the screaming and what it does. Like the violin usage, even so much better here.
I'm going to have to disagree, but
Yeah,
it's personal taste on that one.
yeah.
Sure.
I think that one's entirely personal taste. I think I prefer the instrumentation that Foxtails had more.
And I like just seeing an artist starting out so young and putting this out there, having it be successful, because hopefully, maybe nothing will capture quite what this does, or maybe something will be better. But it's nice to see like how things will evolve. It's like I
definitely agree with that statement because, like I said, the concepts on here are still fantastic. Like these are songs that could be good, and if he puts more time into this and maybe gets a better budget, I think we could see some, maybe not some classics. I don't want to go that far as a prediction here, but I think can still put out some good albums that stand on their own here. For now, I think this is an interesting record. Obviously, a lot of people who are into the fifth wave emo have put this as a important record in there, which for current times, because it shows how DIY it can get. But I don't know if that's going to be a thing in 10 years' time when we've moved on to the next wave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to compare to Liquids one more time, this is also much more focused, interesting. Liquids feels a bit more like a troll, and like, it's fucking part of the act, bro. We're gonna tell you who we are.
I think I prefer Liquids to this if you're going to keep comparing it to that, because a lot of the mysteries that we had were solved by the liner notes of the LP.
Yeah.
And they seem less like a joke and more like, hey, we're just going to create shitty punk music because that's what we like to do.
That's perfectly valid. I guess I just am always in it for like the heart and the clear artistic, like, I'm doing this for me, myself only.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I most get from this. It's a way for him to do whatever he needs to do to get happy. Because there's that part at the end of, I think it's in October of 2019 or Illinois, Alberta, one of them, where he's just talking about how it's like, how he knows how it is to be sad and happy because he's felt sadness before. Now he's just so happy. And then in the background, he's playing Wind Waker. I can't believe I can guess what game that is based on the sounds alone.
That's impressive.
The way Link yells, it's different.
Yeah.
But it's interesting kind of having some of that commentary in there. It's a little, 18 and deep, but like, yeah, I know what it's like to be sad, and now I'm really happy, and tell the like, literally saying that, but I can tell the difference. I'm happy for that, and maybe this album helped in some. I don't know, but it seems important to him.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much what we got about this record?
I think so.
Favorites, least favorite, probably either Clifford or, I hate to say it, but in October of 2019. Those two songs, I think, probably didn't even have that great of a concept going around it.
For me, one of my favorites was actually Clifford the Big Red Stab Wound.
Fair enough.
And I don't really have a least favorite. Just a lot of this album is kind of just mid for me.
Going at least through everything a little bit. I like Clifford the Big Red Stab Wound. I like Eleanor. Least favorites. I also like Metamorphosis. My least favorite is Snowy. And then we go to Deluxe Edition. Fucking love I Am Ruined on top of all of that. I do not like the Battle Fest tracks, as I think the recording on those is not great.
Yeah.
And then the other EPs, I don't care. I think I prefer the Little Trains EP because it's shorter and the tracks were a little bit better. That same street track had really memorable screaming.
I'll give you that.
Which now, that's Arms Are My Cocoon.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to episode 8 Redux.
Dominic, since we piled on you get to pick one, you get to pile on first.
There's nothing really for me to pile on. Like I said, I'm not joking. I think this is one of the best listening weeks we've had.
Yeah, go pick an album as well and say.
I'm gonna pick Tacocat. I don't have as much to say about Tacocat, but I like this album. This Mess Is a Place.
I got a bit to say about Tacocat.
I think this was a lot more popular than I was expecting.
Oh, absolutely, and it gets kind of more into like late 20s existentialism.
There was a couple catchy moments on it. I think it's Grains of Salt is the one that goes the everyone kind of chorus. Just trying to.
Yeah.
Everyone else's. That's the one.
Yeah. When I listen to like Hologram and stuff, I kind of feel like the vocals are set up to sound like a comedy is about to happen. Like there's a joke being told somehow, and I don't know how I know that, but I do.
The joke of life.
That's later, yeah. But I don't know. Like when I comparing this to like a Beach Bunny, I like Beach Bunny more, but I think this is pretty up there compared to some of the other stuff. But like,
so I don't like this one as much as Lost Time.
Me either.
I do think there's a bit of consistency in this record that Lost Time didn't quite have.
I do like this more than Lost Time for sure. Lost Time didn't like me as much.
I prefer Lost Time. I think it's a bit more cohesive in its themes.
This is something I turn on in the background and just be like, yeah, I vibe to this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. And that is Tacocat's This Mess Is a Place.
Well, I got some stuff to say about it.
I know, I'm joking about it.
let me pull up the track list real quick. Apologies. But I discovered. I guess I'll talk about how I discovered them because we didn't really have that in the last video, obviously.
Yeah.
Or the last episode, but I just kind of discovered these guys in college, and with Lost Time, and I just kind of fell in love.
Fair enough.
But some tunes I want to talk about is New World. I feel like that's a big highlight of the album, with the just the feeling like everything could be like a new day. I understand that, and I can vibe with that. And I really like the imagery on "Meet Me at La Palma."
Yeah, that was a cool song.
Because every town in America has that one place that is exactly as they describe.
Just a drinking song. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's all about drinking big margaritas and that sort of thing.
Fair enough.
And it kind of feeds into that the whole theme of like late 20s, early 30s existentialism of like, oh, this is just it until we die, isn't it?
I love listening to music that makes me sad.
Not really sad, but it's like, okay, this is what we have, and we might as well make it ours.
I mean, this was, as I said before, this was a lot poppier than I was expecting. I think Lost Time was actually a pretty catchy record as it was, but this one seems to have like a bit more of a dancier kind of moment on it, which is nice to see that there was a bit of a change in the sound, but not going like away from who they are. Which that was something that I did appreciate with this record, even if it's something like I listened to it back in 2019 because it was a 2019 record, and I think I found it at Red Eye, so I'm like, hey, I'll just pick this up, give it a listen, and I still come back with it from the same opinions I probably had in 2019 when I first listened to it. It's like, yeah, I like it. I don't really like it much else over the other stuff in 2019, but it's nowhere near one of the bad records.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of those little moments on it, which you listen to it, you go, yeah, I like this, I'm vibing with it. As Dominic said, it's kind of like the whole put on it and vibe in it. It's hard. This is probably the album I got the least to talk about because outside of that, it's just kind of another Tacocat record.
Yeah, that's really all it is. And I mean, it's a fun record, but like, there's not much to talk about outside of just kind of talking about what each song is about.
Like, I don't know. Like, there were moments that reminded me of like Rocky Horror and like Crystal Ball. I think there was like, I think the song was like "There's a Light." That might be the one I was thinking of. But
yeah,
if we're talking about stuff we listened to recently, I mean, the other Seattle band we covered recently was Pony Time.
Yeah, and they're tied. They're related in acts somehow.
I prefer this to Pony Time for sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah, by far.
And I just felt myself being like, yeah, I think I like Pony Time. How about that? I mean, not a Pony Time, Tacocat. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool album.
It's a cool album.
Got some rock, got some roll, they got some surf, got some punk, and a little bit of Riot Girl too.
Yeah,
I got nothing else to say about this record.
it's a fun album. It's a fun album. That's about it.
Least favorite, Little Friend. Favorites, Meet Me at La Palma. The Problem.
Least favorite, maybe Little Friend. I don't hate it though.
This was memorable.
Yeah. Grains of Salt is my favorite by far. God damn, that's just fucking catchy of a chorus.
For me, favorites, New World and La Palma. Least favorite, I guess, Grains of Salt. Or Hologram. I usually just skip it and go to New World.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that leaves us then the big, scary.
That was probably the correctest albums we've done all year, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Big Scary's Vacation. So, something on to those albums that got lost in the episode 8 or whatever. Unfortunately, we lost Big Scary's Animal, which I believe was a winner that week, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Big Scary's Animal is by far still their best, but Vacation to me is their next best, because for a debut, it's pretty fantastic. There's a lot of moments on here which I know I go back to the word contrast. It's one of my favorite things that an album or music can do, is when you have those small moments and go to big moments, because the big moments hit better. And I was thinking of the whole time listening back to this, remembering the tones in that record, which was full of trying to make every single second on that fucking big moments, and that none of it was.
Mm-hmm.
And how on this record there were just so many moments where Tom Einsack just lets it play soft, and then it builds up, and it's such a fucking great outro, like in Leaving Home, where it's so soft the whole way, but then that outro is just fucking fantastic because of it.
Yeah.
It's a very colourful record. I would say it's probably trying to be a bit more colourful than Animal ends up being, but I think Animal ends up being executed a lot better because they're not trying to do so much as they try in Vacation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, this album was cool because I think it starts off pretty strong, and it stays strong, it gets better, but it also gets quieter. Like, the last half is so fucking chill and so just nice, easy listening most of the time that I kind of shocked by it. Really like.
And yet, despite being so chill, it's not boring.
Yeah, by the end, Rolling By is just like a lullaby almost.
Yeah.
But then you get songs like Child in a Tree, which just sounds cool and just changes, and there's that twanging guitar in the second half, and it's like, what the fuck is this song? It's interesting. Then you get to like a White Stripes song after that with Bad Friends, and it's, again, what the fuck is this? It's just such a range. Still chill.
Yeah.
I would say that the only issue I have really with Vacation, I mean, it's not like it's a perfect record. I don't even consider it a really strong 9, but this isn't really a coherent album and still feels like a compilation to me.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I mean,
it's not to say that it's a bad compilation.
I would argue that most albums are not really albums anymore.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately agree with that. I'll point out as well here. So, Big Scary had probably only been around for a couple of years before they released this album. They had released a full length, but it wasn't an album. The 4 Seasons earlier. That's actually a compilation of 4 EPs that they did. Falling Away is actually originally off the At the Mercy of the Elements EP, so that one got re-released for this album. I can't remember if it was re-recorded or not. I think it wasn't really.
I do like in that song you can hear them playing the piano. You can hear them actually striking the.
Yeah.
And this album's pretty early on in their discography as well. I think their production got a lot better after this record, despite probably this still being one of their better records in full. We haven't really talked about the opener Gladiator as well, which that's just a great fucking opener.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's like it starts off sounding like it could be edgier with like an edgier song with that chorus, but that chorus like it sounds different to the song, but yet belongs. It's hard to explain. I just like how raw it can sound despite being so clean. And I'm not always too keen of how the vocal performances go in some of these moments. Like you'll notice Joanne's vocals at the end of one of the choruses sounds a little too monotone, that it kind of stands out in a little bad way.
Oh, I didn't
But
notice.
I notice it every time. I still like the song a lot though, despite like those little flaws that I can keep spotting in the song. Mixtape, probably the fastest song off here.
Mhm.
Fucking fun as fuck. When I think of the definition of indie rock from the early tens, it's obviously besides like the pumped up kicks and stuff like that. I mean, in the ones that weren't so big but were trying to be big. Mixtape kind of feels like in that vibe, but I still think it's a fucking great song.
I'll see your mixtape and raise you junk of the heart.
Yeah, I mean, I like Junk of the Heart too, though. So
Peak 2011.
Junk of the Heart is the Kook's best album, and I will fight to the death on that one.
I'll flip the world off just for you. But
Purple's probably the edgier song on here, and again, you'll see like these vibes probably recreated on Animal at the time, going from these different sounds. And I think Animal does it a lot better. But I think when they were starting to show the concepts of what they can do on here, I think they did it really well.
it is amazing that they're a duo. It really does not sound like it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like this is more people. They have such good synergy. The guitars and the drums kind of duet and riff with each other, and the singing is just there too for me. Tom's a great fucking singer. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, he's fucking fantastic.
And like song like Falling Away, you can definitely see the roots of The Opposite of Us and Falling Away.
Yeah, it definitely can. Again, like Opposite of Us is so much better of a song, but like you definitely can see it. I mean, like in 3 years with the production on here, like the important thing is that Tom Ironsack would actually help produce a lot of stuff after they started to go on the map. I mean, probably the most relevant thing that he ever produced was Hockey Dad's debut EP.
Oh, nice.
Which, if you listen to it, you don't really see the similarities, but that's also just because you can see how much of a range that he's got, that he doesn't have to have like a standard producing. He can just produce whatever the fuck he wants and it just sounds good. I mean, even their last effort, which I think is their weakest, Daisy's still got a bunch of great songs on there. That's just Big Scary's consistency, though. Even at their worst, they're still good.
Yeah, they seem like the kind of like, from what I was seeing, the type that's like always nominated for awards, always getting a recognition, but never quite reaching that peak of popularity, never quite winning as much as they.
Well, most of their awards that they've been nominated for are Triple J awards, which is because Triple J was the only fucking radio station or anything to say, hey, these people are actually fucking talented.
But I find it funny that Big Scary already did the 4 EPs for 4 seasons, and Weezer's doing it this year.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Big Scary's ahead of the fucking game, man.
We should cover that.
But to put into the kind of perspective, Big Scary's actually only had one song in their whole fucking lifetime that's charted on the Oz charts, the ARIA charts.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
That's it. It's charted nowhere else, and it was The Opposite of Us, and that peak was number 100. So it only just made it in. That's just how little. Yeah, they got a couple other stuff that they've been nominated for.
The album was 37
J Awards
on the
was big.
charts.
Yeah, the album was 37. The album ones are a bit easier, but just because not many people go listening to albums.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, they'll listen to one song, but you can go and hear like, these people will listen to the full album, so there's like 20 listens for one album and it goes into there. Plus, with the indie stuff, people are more likely to buy those albums than an Ed Sheeran or I forgot what else was popular around 2011, to be honest.
The Kooks.
Yeah. I think the Kooks would have had people buying the albums, but it's a it's a fantastic debut. I think their consistency would end up showing and they thankfully didn't abandon the concepts despite not being so commercially successful on this record. As I mean, it wasn't like this album failed or anything, but
I mean,
it is.
There's no Foster the People.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting enough, Mixtape was the first single off this record.
Interesting.
Yeah, deserved.
Gladiator was the second, Leaving Home was the third, and it says Falling Away, but Falling Away was already made.
I caught the Gladiator music video. It was interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I think they were just fucking around for most of it, and then Tom's in a dress, I'm pretty sure.
A dress, or was it like Roman armor? I couldn't quite tell.
I think both.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. What's your favorite moments of this trick? So I'm gonna single you out.
It's funny you should say that because I'm gonna pull out one of my favorite words that I haven't used in a while.
Yay!
And that is blender.
I could hear that. I could hear that.
Yeah, it's it went in one ear and out the other, but it was pleasurable.
I'm going to fully agree with not fully agree, fully disagree with Blender. I think this album is too like different to be a Blender.
For me, it was a blender. Nothing stuck.
Not at all a blender for me. I liked Animal. I really like this album as well. I think Big Scary is quickly entering one of my top most interesting bands from this podcast.
They're definitely one of the most interesting bands out of Australia. I would say.
We should cover more. We did 85 episodes. To me, it's about as good. It's not as good as Animal, but it's there. It's close.
Well, they do have 2 more other regular albums and a bunch of EPs, so be the change you want to see, Dominic.
I'll do a 2-week special. We'll do the Weezer stuff near the end of the year, and then we'll do the Big Scary stuff. Seasons.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure if I'll actually do that, but I'll call it now, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, next week I'm picking Weezer. Nah.
All right.
We could.
We could do Weezer.
We could do anything we want.
You do a whole Weezer spectacular.
I have a joke on one of my Twitter bots about how Weezer makes you infertile or something.
No, it just makes you a virgin.
Let me see if I can find it.
Anyway, does anyone else have anything to say specifically that they want to get off their chest about this album?
It's a good album.
We finally redeemed episode 8. Well, in full.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Animal's great. Lost Time and This Mess is a Place are both there. Vacation's great. It's a good week for music.
Yeah.
Favorites.
And
go ahead.
I was gonna say the Weezer thing is it's a conspiracy theory bot that I wrote, and it's to keep you from knowing that listening to Weezer gives you erectile dysfunction.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Favorites up here: Falling Away, Leaving Home, Gladiator, Mixtape. They're all the fucking singles of this are fucking fantastic. Least favorite probably Of Desire, but it's not that I don't like that.
Favorites: Mixtape, Child in a Tree, Got It, Lost It, Falling Away. Least favorite, Purple.
Yeah, I can see it. I like Purple, but it's not like it's the biggest highlight of it.
I love Coldplay's Yellow.
Yeah, fair enough. It sounds completely different.
Yeah.
But it's just colors.
Yeah. Tricks, you're gonna have to say favorite and the least
no
favorite.
favorites, least favorites. It's a blender.
No, you have to say a favorite or a least favorite. Or
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a track.
And say random fucking tracks. Tricks, get it.
Let me pull up the fucking track listing because I couldn't tell you a fucking song off this album.
Tricks. Is it a blender or a blander?
It's a blender.
You called it a blander. How could you
Don't make fun of my New York way of speaking.
No. I'm asking, is it just a blender in that it all flows together and boring, or is it bland and is it a blander version of a blender?
It's not bland. It's like, as I said, I enjoyed it while I was listening to it, but nothing stuck.
I'm not actually saying this in a serious way, but man, I don't think you're properly listening if nothing stuck.
I'm gonna just be weird and say Child in a Tree was my favorite.
Hell yeah. Great fucking track. Well.
And with that comes the rankings, and I'm going to assume it's universal.
No.
No.
Except for Your Arms Are My Cocoon, sorry.
I'll say mine then.
Go ahead.
Number 6, our little number 6 is gonna be the Battle of Kikijima Island EP. Number 5 is Our Little Trains EP. Number 4 is gonna be Tacocat. 3 is gonna be Your Arms in My Cocoon Deluxe Edition. Number 2 is gonna be Big Scary's Vacation. Number 1 is gonna be Your Arms in My Cocoon EP.
I'm just gonna bunch it all together. All the Your Arms and My Cocoon stuff is last place. Number 2 is Tacocat, and number 1 is Big Scary.
I'll agree with that, and I'll add the addendum that I think the EP is or the LP, whatever the original version of the Your Arms in My Cocoon is at the top for me.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
And with that comes our next weekend. It's a 2022 week again, isn't it, Dominic?
Yes, it is.
Which I'm pretty sure I've been picking mostly 2022 stuff.
So
I think I'm half and half.
I've
we might be.
the last 10 episodes, I think I've tried to do 2022 stuff.
Damn.
The Smiths being the exception. Even in this last one, the Our Little Trains EP was a 2020 or January 2022 release.
Yeah. Do you want me to? I'll go first because I know that Ritz is gonna hate it. I'm going to do the album Manticore by the band Shovels and Rope. It is an Americana country folky band on the same label as Shaky Graves.
Any reaction?
I haven't heard it.
You were completely garbled.
I haven't heard it, so.
Fair. All right, I'm going to cover the first album I ever considered for a 2022 episode this year. We're going to go back to January and do the new Years and Years album, Night Call. Also the deluxe edition.
I don't know that one either.
Okay.
The deluxe edition I want to do because there's some extra tracks featuring Kylie Minogue.
All right.
Very gay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and
Night Call?
Yes.
this is gay.
Yeah.
This is really gay. I don't have any build up for my my thing anyway. It's just a regular release, and I realize the more that I say stuff like this, the more you think I'm just going to be fucking with you, and it's going to be an actual big release. It's just the Moving Stills Sunshine Corner. Not really much else. Yeah, Moving Stills Sunshine Corner. I don't really know that much about the band, to be honest.
Alrighty then.
Hey, I like the blind picks. That's always fun.
Yeah.
It's not a blind pick.
Or at least a more random than like totally planned or like.
It's like a sight read pick, to be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Years and Years was that for me at first, and then I listened to it and kept waiting to release it to y'all.
Until then, though, I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on our website, Ritalin for Kids at github.io. I also have a YouTube channel that's linked in the description below.
I've been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. I occasionally do live streams there, and I'm just a all-around goblin on Twitter.
Not the goblin label. Anyway, I'm Dominic. You can catch me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I have some material releasing soon. A new article in the new Lost in Cult, Volume 3. It's going to be a cool magazine. Check it out if you like video game stuff. My short film beat is still on YouTube. Check that out on my channel if you want to check it out. That's going to do it for us this time. Just to repeat everything, we're going to do the Moving Still, Sunshine Corner, Shovels and Ropes, Manticore, and Years and Years, Night Call, Deluxe Edition. That's going to do it for Dissonant Waves. And Trix, you had something to say?
I was just going to say, hell yeah.
Hell
No.
yeah. Ritz, can I get a hell yeah?
No.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Dissonant Waves, and that is the way. The waves dissonant.
Hell yeah.